You want it to be one way.
What?
You want it to be one way.
Man, I don't
You want
know
it
what
to
you...
be one
Man,
way.
stop. Stop saying that.
But it's the other way.
All right. It's your boy, Claymore Rain. This is the A.T.P Combat Media Show. Welcome one, welcome all. How you guys doing today? Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to all the subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. All the comments, all the interaction, and all the feedback. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. If this is your first time coming to the show, seeing a segment, I do invite you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you get all the alerts as to the content that we're dropping. Salute, salute, salute. Shakur Stevenson calls out Emanuel Navarrate. Well, does he call him out? Let's talk about it. I don't know if he calls him out as much as offers him an opportunity, right, to have a big fight. Well, who's Emanuel Navarrate? Emanuel Navarrate is a junior lightweight, is the junior lightweight WBO champion. I believe he sits at about 30 wins, 22 somewhat knockouts. Don't quote me. Somewhere in that direction. He just recently had a fight with I want to say his name correctly. Let me say his name correctly. Let me not mess up this man's name. Because I'm good for it. He just fought, I know Consekiao, but okay, Robinson Consekiao. You guys may have remembered him. Consekiao actually fought Shakur Stevens. He was actually Shakur Stevens' last fight at junior lightweight. In that fight, if you guys recall, Shakur Stevenson didn't make weight that fight, but, pretty much dominated Consekiao in that fight. Well, Navarrate had a fight with him on the card. Was it the Shakur Stevenson card? It might have been the Shakur Stevenson card, to be honest with you. I think it was. It was Shakur's last card against EDWIN de los Santos. And they were pretty much the co-main event on that card, and they fought it out. Consekiao and Emanuel Navarrate, they fought it out, and they got a draw. And I thought it was a pretty good decision. It was a good fight. I thought Consekiao had moments in the fight. There were moments when it looked like it wasn't going too well for him as well. Navarrate is a puncher, from Mexico. And he fights, I don't want to say he fights one way, but I'll tell you, he has a very, if I were to compare him to anybody, I would say he has like a Subriel Matias type approach to the fight. He's there. He's an exciting fighter. He's going to push the pace. He's a puncher. He can catch you. And he's been talking about going to 135. Actually been speaking about it for a little while now. I'll say about like 4 months ago or something like that. I really feel like he really started kind of hinting towards going in that direction. Making the weight at 130 may not be the most pleasant thing that he could think of doing. So he's been talking about going up to 135. He is the WBO champion in the junior lightweight division. So coming up, Shakur trying to, I don't want to say Shakur's trying to provide some redemption. I'm kind of biased towards that to a degree. Well, I'm not biased. I'm always unbiased. I try to be as much as I can be, but I'll say that, Shakur had a poor performance against EDWIN de los Santos in the last fight. And a lot of people feel like Shakur Stevenson needs to provide some redemption. And I'm not far off of that. I do think there's some redemption that needs to be done. A lot of people feel like he should be rematching EDWIN de los Santos. I don't think I'm on that same thought pattern as everybody else, because I do feel like although Shakur Stevenson did have one of his weakest performances, obviously suggestions towards injuries in his left hand and left shoulder were there, but I understand that fight fans don't want to hear excuses, and I'm okay with that as well. But EDWIN de los Santos didn't have any injuries, and he put an output of about 38 punches in that fight. That's not on Shakur Stevenson. That's on him. Shakur Stevenson said it in a tweet before. That was his best opportunity to beat Shakur Stevenson, being that he was basically a one-arm fighter in the ring that night. And if you If he didn't do it then, we shouldn't be expecting him to be able to do better when Shakur has actually both hands. And I can agree with that. I can resonate with that type of thinking. And personally, I'm just not interested in seeing that fight again like that. I think Shakur also was correct by saying that we can do that later on down the line. I'm sure we will have a rematch, but right now in Shakur Stevenson's career, he has to be conscious of the fights he's putting out there. He has to give himself the best opportunities to make good money. He's in that space right now. I think a crossover fight with a Mexican, Mexicans and Black Americans, you know, make great fights, good pay-per-view numbers. And Navarrate is an exciting fighter, so he knows that Navarrate is not going to be overcautious. He's not going to be reserved. Edwin De Los Santos was, in my opinion, overcautious. He was too reserved. He didn't let the hands go. He didn't fight as if that was his huge opportunity to put a mark in the game. I don't think we need to see that fight again. Now, Navarrate is coming up from 130 pounds. It'll be his first fight, I believe, at 135 pounds. Just looking over his record, I really haven't seen him fight anybody over 135. I think over 130, excuse me. So his last two fights was Oscar Valdez and Robertson Kinsecao. Both those fights, reverse, was Shakur Stevenson's pretty much last two fights at the 130-pound weight division. So, you know, it kind of makes sense. I'm okay with this fight. I think some people are going to try to criticize Shakur because they're going to say he's picking a fighter who stylistically just works for him, just coming forward. But I think that's what everybody was expecting to see with Edwin De Los Santos. I think everybody was expecting to see Shakur Stevenson fight somebody who's going to be a puncher and who was coming forward. And everybody was okay with that fight. So I don't see the big difference in this outside of, obviously, the boxing space. Very excited and interesting. Well, not excited, but very interesting to see. Interested in seeing him rematch Edwin De Los Santos because they believe that Edwin De Los Santos was probably Shakur Stevenson's biggest test that he's had up to this point, and that Shakur didn't perform up to speed. He said he had a hand injury. It was a very boring fight. They want to see the redemption fight against Edwin De Los Santos. I can't help but compare this as well to the Gervonta Tank Davis, or the fighter today, Abdul Wahid, formerly known as Gervonta Tank Davis, had with Isaac Cruz, right? Gervonta ended up hurting his hand in that fight, and he didn't give a lackluster performance though. He fought his tail off with one arm. But at the same time, there are people out there who feel like Isaac gave him his biggest competition. I don't agree with that at all. Not at all. I don't believe that, but a lot of people believe that, and then people are just interested in seeing Isaac get that rematch, and Gervonta to kind of clear up the confusion on that fight, which I don't share any confusion in. But you know, once again, with Shakur and De Los Santos, I don't share the confusion in that fight either. Although Shakur put a performance up that was not, you know, championship worthy in my opinion. I mean, it does take a high IQ and a certain skill set to be able to sell that left hand the way he sold it to De Los Santos, because let's make no confusion about it. De Los Santos was worried about that left hand. He felt like Shakur was setting him up, and that's what was making him hesitant. You have to give respect to Shakur Stevenson for being able to sell that to him like that. There's a certain skill set in that, but you know, aesthetically speaking, on the visual level, it just wasn't what we wanted it to be. So I think, you know, him fighting against Navarrate, I think that makes a little bit of sense. I can see that happening. I think Navarrate is going to bring that pressure. He's a puncher as well. You saw that if you saw the Kinsecao fight. If you watch his career at all, you'll know that he's a puncher. He's going to make the fight dirty if he has to. He's not going to allow Shakur Stevenson to do what De Los Santos, what Shakur did to De Los Santos. He's just not going to. He's not cut from that cloth. He's going to push that pace. He's going to fight dirty. He's going to take chances. He's going to try to stop this dude, especially coming from the performance that Shakur Stevenson had with Edwin De Los Santos. I'm sure Emanuel Navarrate doesn't want no parts of that black cloud that they personally now share. He's going to make sure he does his job and he brings to the table what he's supposed to bring to the table. And his fan base won't allow him to either. The Mexican fan base is not going to support no You know, it's very rare to find a Mexican boxer who's going to sit there and stink the place up. He's going to fight. He's going to put it all on the table, and he's going to leave it all in the ring. And that, to me, that adds up to an exciting fight. So I have no problems with that. Like I said, we'll get the naysayers who are saying he's ducking Edwin De Los Santos, or I even saw on the Twitter that there was a gentleman who mentioned that they really wanted him to make that fight happen with Gervonta Tank Davis. Well, I think everybody wants to see Shakur Stevenson fight Gervonta Tank Davis. I for sure believe that Shakur Stevenson wants to fight Gervonta Tank Davis, but according to popular demand, you know what I mean, to popular belief, Tank Davis is the only one, and his team are the only ones who can send out contracts. They don't receive or take offers. Nobody in boxing is in a space to give offers to the face of boxing. So, you know, until Tank sends over, or his team sends over, some interest in that fight happening, Shakur Stevenson has no reason to believe that him and Tank are getting ready to fight anytime soon, and he should stay busy. I think we all watch what happened to fighters who don't stay busy, right? Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder, you know, fighters who just sit there and wait on that one fight, you know, to come across. You know, ring rust kicks in, all types of things happen. Activity makes these fighters better. So Shakur Stevenson has no reason to sit back and wait on some, you know, fantasy fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. That fight will happen in due time, in its time. I'm sure it will happen. Plus, let's be honest, I'm gonna stop calling him Tank Davis. I'm sorry. Abdul Wahid, formerly known as Tank Davis, he's just coming off of a long hiatus as well, dealing with his legal issues and dealing with the transfer from one platform to another platform, as far as PBC going to Amazon Prime. So I don't think he necessarily wants to just jump back into the deep end of the pool and fight a Shakur Stevenson. I'm sure there are fights out there, tune-up fights that he may be looking at. He's probably looking at Rayo. He may be looking at Isak Cruz. I've even heard rumors earlier today of a potential Gary Russell fight. So there's other fights that Tank Davis is entertaining right now. Shakur Stevens has a responsibility towards himself and his family to stay busy, and I think that Emanuel Navarrate could be a legitimate option to do that. There are other options as well in the weight class, in the weight division, but I think that's a good one as far as sellability, as far as him just coming from fighting on a Thursday night as well, and you know, just not having a good turnout. Really didn't get an opportunity to make a good turnout because the Thursday night fight, I mean, it was late night as well. It'd have been decent if it was like earlier in the day, but it was a weird day to schedule a fight. I understand that Bob Arum had agreements with NASCAR or whoever. You know, I guess they're sponsoring some events with Top Rank, so that was an agreement they made. But you know, this fight is not pay-per-view status, but it does bring more eyes to Shakur Stevenson and allows him to build his brand up. So I have no issues with it. You guys let me know what you think. Shakur Stevenson, Emanuel Navarrate trying to potentially coordinate a fight for Shakur Stevenson's WBC lightweight championship belt. Tell me what you think about it. And you know, leave comments. Once again, if this is your first time seeing this segment, please feel free to go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, so you can get all the alerts when we drop this content. And on that note, at this point, we out.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out. Yeah.